Almost, Dale.
Nice fall shirt, Rose.
I like.
This is my wardrobe, from the super colorful stuff to the more dark stuff, orangey colors.
Ready to go.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a roll call. You want to take the roll call?
Rose, would you like to do the roll call?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Larry Sleeman,
Here.
Rose Bricker, here. Do I have to do that for myself? No. Chelsea Starner, Dale Collins, Linda Young, and Yvonne McMillan. We are missing Tyler Pellet and Scott Austin. Welcome.
I guess, okay. So anyway, we got the roll call out of the way. The minutes of the September 5th, 2023 Park Advisory Board meeting. Corrections or additions? Did everyone get a copy of the minutes?
I read them, I didn't see anything hard either.
Okay, so minutes of September 5th, 2023. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No. Okay.
If not, the minutes are approved as printed.
Let's have a motion.
I move.
Okay, thanks.
Second.
We moved and seconded it that to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? It's so it's.
Yeah.
I'm good with that one. I know he doesn't have.
Anyway, we approved the minutes. All these years I did these meetings. Music in the park, debriefing and. You want to kick that over?
Sure. So last time we tabled that discussion, but I just put it back on here. One thing you'd asked about is how much was raised if you was impacted. The Performing Arts Benefit Fund did give me a snapshot of what's been raised the last 3. It's gone up. So it's gone up every year, which is great.
Yeah.
And so that just, shows that people are being generous and probably that we're having more people attend the concert. So good news. And then just if anyone we've talked a lot through the summer months of our feedback for concerts and such, but if there was any final comments anyone wanted to say, just to put on the record for us to think about as we plan for next year, this would be a good time to do that as well.
So I do have a comment, and that is, when the band is playing the music, it's nice if you sit under the cover, where the food is. Well, on Thursdays, you can hear the band just fine. But when somebody's announcing, somebody in the band is announcing, you really can't hear them under there. You can hear them quite close to the bandstand, but not about halfway beyond that. You really can't hear them very well. So I don't know if it's a matter of a different microphone that should be used or what.
It could be because we have our microphone down there that we get from the fire department. And there's a microphone that the band has.
Yeah, the microphone from the fire department, I don't think we used it all this year.
I think they were mostly the band.
Yeah, we just.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I would say would be to get some, and I don't know how to do this, get some sort of remote speaker that just is in that pavilion or whatever you want to call it there.
Oh,
So that
that's
it
an idea.
came down, but then that would have to somehow hook into
Yeah.
the other one, and that's where I wouldn't know how to do.
So for Philomath Pride, we got it's supposed to be used for karaoke, but basically it's a speaker box and it came with 2 microphones, less than $100. Traveling, it's battery powered. You can also charge it, so you don't have to use batteries. Has a handle on it, super light, easy to carry. You could put the speaker underneath the pavilion area and then be even just walking around with microphones. It's real loud. We use that during both the events.
But I think you'd need 2 speakers, one for the audience and one for the shelter. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, but if you've got a speaker in the shelter that's going out towards the audience, maybe that would be sufficient.
Or if you turn the speaker towards everyone who's in the pavilion and some people go behind, like where the trees are. And then if you're standing in front of like where the statue is, then you're speaking to the crowd that's in front of you
That's true.
while on the mic projecting over there by the pavilion. Maybe?
Well, I think what I would suggest we're gonna do that would be to put the speaker on the east side of that area.
Yeah,
so that
right.
It's projecting out to the west, so then you could get people hearing it in the
Mhm.
shelter and then the audience on the lawn.
Perhaps somebody who knows about electronics would be able to tell us the best place to put it too, you know? And if the wind comes up, it's kind of blowing that sound away, blowing it.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe it would be better on the other side. So the wind would blow the words.
Perhaps somebody who knows about those things, because I don't.
Need a link for the machine?
Sure. Yeah, I think part of it is the cost of it and that, you know, a lot of these events that you go to, they have sound. So when the bands show up, we would be hosting with sound equipment and a board. And so some of it is that at what point, you know, do we say this is turning into a big enough event to look into something like that? Because we are relying on the bands mostly at this point to bring their own equipment and
Sure.
you know, how you even coordinate that could be complicated, like how you would coordinate. You have a microphone, they have a microphone, is there feedback? It could get complicated, so I think it's something to look into. I think we just need to see. You know, talk about what does this program look like in the future so that we're not. So that we're putting our money in a good place, in a good direction, kind of plan for it.
Yep.
Because, yeah, I know that you're not the only one who's mentioned that. I think you can hear the music pretty well.
The music is fine.
Yeah, and I think it carries, yeah,
For some reason, that projects more than somebody speaking, even when
Yeah.
you're speaking in the band, if you.
you still can't, yeah.
Can't hear what they're saying. It sounds garbled.
Yeah, I think it's that's just an odd, like, with the opens, I think the sound just goes out.
Yeah.
And you have that enclosed area, and I think
Right.
it's just. Yeah, that's
So
some
maybe
issues. Okay.
somebody.
I wonder if Public Works could run something from the big stage out there up to,
Like have speakers.
what we're talking about, like people
Maybe
underneath.
that's
the
future
pavilion.
thinking, that'd be expensive,
Right,
but
yeah,
if we get bigger, for sure, I think that might be
Mhm.
necessary, to project more.
So I know people, especially people who are sitting closer to the, you know, up by the food.
mhm.
Well, my thinking is on the outside of that building there, it's mounting speaker up there.
Yeah, it would just be a cost, it would be expensive.
Take it down
But
to the.
that's the other thing, right, is that we have vandalism, you can't leave equipment
Oh, you.
there, so that's another
But
part of it, yes, considering.
if they put in that place where we're saving money, is that strictly just for the?
For schools,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, a question I was gonna ask, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Can't use that money to do.
Any sound stuff.
no, not unless we intentionally said we're not collecting for that anymore, we're collecting for the music and the park program instead.
For the games at the school. Like football games, they announce things and, well, if you're sitting.
They have big PA systems, yeah, they have systems, and that's kind of what I was talking about, like, that's the next step, is that you have a soundboard, you
Yeah.
have large speakers, so
That is an expense.
it's a big step, right?
It's also, you know, people have to do that.
Right, they pay people usually.
I mean, you have to have somebody that knows what they're doing to do it there a Thursday night or a Sunday night, so.
A little speaker that's very powerful. And we could try it the first music in the park. You know, I have the microphone, it'll plug in there. And then we can bring it out. I could even put it on an extension cord and take it out to the middle part of the court. And then just turn it up and speak and see if that works. The only problem with that is if I'm not there.
Yeah.
Then somebody would have to come get it, but it's this big.
Yeah.
Pick it up with one hand, very easy and very powerful, but I have not used it in a setting like that.
I think our Columbus Pride group might be able to coordinate on days that you're not there. We can use the karaoke machine as long as it doesn't fall in the same
And that machine, is it wireless, like Bluetooth?
Bluetooth. Yep.
Yeah. Be nice if it's wireless.
I'm wondering, do we have an update on what they're spending all the money or the funds that are raised for? We always say risers.
I can ask them. I think they do have, it's part of their reporting, I think, is that they show reporting at probably the end of every year what they've spent money.
It's for next year, because I know
So-
we're asked often, we talk about risers that years ago.
I think if you emailed, well, you could email probably Tom Whitfield.
Yeah.
Or you could even email the middle school and high school and elementary teachers if you wanted and just say, what did you spend it on so we can announce it?
Mhm.
That they, they repair instruments, they buy instruments.
I think it'd probably be better to talk to Tom, because the schools might not know where the money's coming from.
Right, and he has the accounting,
I mean, he's the one that's
Yeah.
writing the checks.
right?
But I know there was on that, one of those papers we had, it had a list of things that they wanted. Kind of a wish list, of things that they would like, and I can't remember if there was anything on there that said this is what we purchased. in the past.
I think they do update, St. Blair, on the website, I think, update that.
No, they're very close.
Yeah.
Last that I had on Music in the Park, I love Philomath for the beautiful gusts of wind that come and cool us down when it's hot. But that is like constant feedback that I get from the performers, is that their equipment's the wind is blowing past their microphones, so it's making feedback or that sound. We didn't know if like wind blockers on the west facing side of the gazebo. I don't know what the solution is, but I know that that is a repeated complaint.
Let's say,
Yeah.
if they did, nobody would, well, if somebody sat on that side, they wouldn't be able to see them. They would have to sit on that
Yeah.
side.
They would have to sit up front.
I don't see anybody sitting on that.
Not usually.
Because as a performer, if you're in the, it can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's definitely feedback. I mean, we had the speakers up last year at one point and they flew down. That's why we started putting them on the ground, which doesn't help with the sound. They have stands that you can project the sound more, but it's always so windy that we can't put them on the stand.
Maybe you could just put shades on that west side
Mhm.
that let down if you.
Has
for
anybody
sun and wind.
requested those?
I talked to Public Works about that and it wasn't really,
I
didn't
think,
want to really do it.
well, again, it's anything you're leaving there is, that's the problem.
And
Anything you're.
maintain it.
You have to maintain it.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
just like, that's Philomath,
Is,
windy.
yeah. But I know sometimes when it's very significant, it actually impacts them. So that's, I think there's a difference between, wow, it was really windy and it literally is kind of knocking over some of their microphones, equipment. So I do think it has been that windy for several bands. And if the weather is not sunny, that wind coupled with rain has been dangerous. A couple of times they've had to like stop and
Would a big
happen too.
be?
I don't know. I don't know what it.
I think some bands say it'd be nice to have, that they could pull up a blind or what when the wind really starts blowing. And then others says, no, it don't bother them.
Maybe not windy that day.
Yeah, not too windy. I don't know. Okay, well, it's good feedback, definitely. And every year we're kind of getting different feedback and moving ahead with the program. So I think it's all good.
one thing that I'll say that worked well is that we got a code for key to get in that.
Yep.
Get the
Jug.
money thing out. But could we also put that sandwich board thing in there?
I can't, unfortunately, there's nowhere at the park for me to put that.
Okay,
Yeah, it just
because that's
isn't.
it's nice to be able to refer to that if somebody says, about the next one, or they can look at that. Also, I know the vendor on Sunday said, well, our name didn't get on there, so people are coming and have already eaten and so on.
Sure.
So it would be nice somehow either to leave that, I don't know if you can leave it up all the time.
I can't.
Sandwich board?
No, it would be gone immediately.
Paint it.
It wouldn't, I don't think it would do well outside. It's not that. It has nice sides. I don't think it's built for that. So I did extensively look with Public Works on where we could and couldn't put it. We can't put it in that building because there's nowhere to tuck it away and people rent the building. So there's really no weird.
And there's no community bulletin board or anything.
ideal.
What about the new restrooms?
I looked there as well. Yeah, they told me no room in the gym. There's a little tiny janitorial. So I looked everywhere, I tried.
Stage.
What about over by shelter too? Isn't there more space and there's like a janitorial custodian area there in
Maybe.
the bathroom, I think on the other side. The
It's
shelter's
possible.
here,
I
the
could ask.
desk's here, on the back side is. Well, but I mean, if we could get access to it.
So
It's the only way they unlock them doors.
Well, and that would be kind
Okay,
of
so
tricky, yeah,
many
because of the way they're keyed. I think that's part of the issue is that we can't give a key to park board that opens like everything public works.
They wouldn't give us a key.
No, not likely. I mean,
Not that
it took me a year and a half to get a key to the park, so. So probably not, but the difference with the Kugler shelter is that we're saying like, we're responsible for that. We're essentially renting it during that event, so we know, if something happens and the code is changed like right after, so it's a little different situation, but I can look again for next year, I could hit dead ends this year, but I will tell you what, more than anyone, I wanted to do that because on my end, it's one more thing that I'm trying to coordinate, get someone to pick up, get there, but yeah, I will continue to try to work on finding a place to tuck that away that can be, easier to reach, because it's not always easy to come here and get it and bring it back.
Thank you.
Okay, so anything else on the music in the park debriefing?
I think the bands were good. I think we picked good ones.
With the one exception. The one in,
I think it was the one I didn't go to.
I think it was in June. They kind of left a little early
Well,
you're
and I think if I remember correctly, Chelsea, you said they maybe donated the money.
They did, yeah,
But just as
yeah.
a future reference.
I like the variety. I like that we were intentional about trying to like mix it up.
Mhm. Yeah.
I got good feedback about that.
Good. Great.
Okay, so the next subject on the is the park advisory board,
The signage.
Sign in.
oh, park signage, yeah.
So remind me why this came up.
Okay.
We've been talking about it for a long time, haven't we?
Yes. Okay, so I did write a pretty extensive staff report about it. At the last meeting, the board had asked us to take kind of an inventory of what signage is currently in the parks. This came up because the park board recommended to change the name of Mary's River Park to Mary's River Park and Natural Area. And after that point, there were several community members and park board members who wanted the sign to reflect that name change. And so it came up because as staff, rather than just look at something as one, let's put a sign up, let's pay money to do that, that it's a good time to reflect on what's going on with the rest of the parks. So that's why we took a little bit of a step back. What I found when I looked at the signage, as you can see in this little chart, is that we have several parks that do not even have a name sign of any kind. I think Public Works has tried to get a little more consistent with these. It's like a metal street sign that's blue with white, like an information sign that has the park name with the address. And I think they did that, probably just have the address at the park, make sure that it's at the park. Those all look relatively new, the ones that are blue with the white. But there's several questions here for recommendation. So it's from the board, kind of looking for a recommendation on how to move forward. But I think the issue is that you have a park that already has a sign that at this point is in decent shape. And it's actually, whether you like the style of it or not, it's a nicer sign than a lot of the other parks have at all. And then we have these parks that don't have park signs at all anymore and no names. So, when I looked at that from a staff perspective, it looks like that needs to be addressed, and potentially if nicer signage is wanted in the community, there needs to be some buy-ins, probably the park advisory board to spend some time making some recommendations and going through that process to try to make a recommendation for that.
And for all the parks.
For all the parks, yeah, because, and to start with the parks that don't have any names.
Unlike the city park, I think he used to have a sign and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I agree, it's nice to have signage and all, and I actually spent Sunday going around to each of the park to see if there were signs.
I know, many of us.
But when I looked at other cities' park signs, well, most of the time they were bigger cities, and so they had a division of, parks and recreation, so they had kind of their own logo, and then they would put the name of the park on there, so it was kind of a standard one that they used for each of the parks they have. So I don't know if that's something that you're looking at, is some kind of a standard. I mean, the only standard we have are the blue ones.
Right, unspoken standard, I think.
Yeah.
At this point. Yeah, I think when we look at, we're adding parks. It does give consistency to the branding of the community. We are trying to brand the downtown area. So there are some things going on in Philomath that are trying to make Philomath an identifiable place. So that is a way that you can do that with parks, is kind of get consistent. The other thing that it does is when a park is being built, or a sign is being bought, we don't have to talk about it again. Unless at some point you say, it's time for us to refresh our signage. But it's not taking more staff time or committee time. It's, this is what you put, this is the font, this is the size that you do it. This is what it looks like, go put that sign in. So from like a public works perspective, that helps them a lot, because they are self-admittedly not designers.
Yeah.
And
It's probably cheaper too, right?
Yeah, easier, simple.
it is, because you usually have design with
But more
whoever's making the
economic.
sign. So those are the reasons why it might be a good idea to look at that. I think that when I looked at all the signage, it seems like we're definitely not there, and we don't even have place signs, I think Westbrook Park, you drive up and it's just this nice little park on a corner, and there's even a place where you could just visualize a nice little low sign that, so there, when you think about it that way, it does give presence to the parks in the community.
Yeah, you kind of don't know that's a city park.
Right, because if you drive around the side, you can see that there's kind of, all the signs are put there, like the dog waste and the park hours and the, so, I think from Public Works, when I talked to them, they are all for this. I think the Public Works director said that he years ago tried to bring something like this forward. It just kind of fizzled out, didn't go anywhere. But they're supportive of it.
If they have specific suggestions, because they probably also are looking at maintenance on signs. That, it would be nice to, there's some suggestions that we could take a look at. And I think it's hard to say, okay, we're gonna have the same sign in the city park as we are in the Triangle Park, because they're just a small park, so I don't know that they need a huge sign.
But it still belongs to the city. I mean, even if there was just a city logo on the top, the mountain, whatever, this is a Philomath Park. The city park can get a bigger sign.
There could be,
The others belong.
there could be different, so there could be like a community park sign that's a larger sign with more presence. There could be a neighborhood park sign that's scaled down. And then, like Flossie Overman has a sign, which has a lot of presence, right? You might not want that in just a small little park, but it has the timber entryway and has the sign up above. And so I think that is something that's been more recently done, and was sort of looking at this timber community look. So I think that that's probably the direction we would want to take, is to try to keep that, there's a big design review process that went on with this downtown streetscape and all of that. So it definitely has gone through community counselors, planning commissioners, and a big process to get there. And so I think it wouldn't be too far of a step to just come up with some ideas, some visuals, things that people like the look of, and just talk about moving towards something to recommend.
And even like the blue signs, maybe with the city logo on them, since we don't really have a park and rec logo, maybe there's just a city logo on them for each park. And then I think is what you were saying, is then some of them can have a little bit more grander sign if they wish.
Yeah, or get away. Those signs are really intended just to be they're informational signs. I don't think they're intended to be an actual, place sign, so to speak. Usually you have something that's a little more like a thicker wood or wood product, wood resin product, something like that. Some cities do, some cities have metal signs. They usually have wood posts and they put them between there. So there's different things that you could do. And part of it, of course, is cost. We don't currently have a sign budget. I think that's part of why we have what we have here, but it would at the very least be nice to have something that is intentional so that if a city park, I think there was a sign there or two, they've rusted or broke. And so when that happens, no one's rushing out to put something there because I don't think they really know what to put there. What do we put there? Do we spend money on something and we don't really know what we're supposed to put there? And so I think that's the thought, is to maybe step back from putting additional signage up, looking at that first, and then kind of, that probably Public Works could very capably look at this list and say, okay, here are the signs that we probably should budget for. It may have to be in the, like as a project, we could look at it as recommending a project for a fiscal year to kind of chip away and do some signage. Sometimes if you buy them in bulk, they can be less of a cost if you bought like 5 signs at once instead of 1. So
Where do we go from here?
yeah, so I think it's sort of, I'm looking for a general recommendation. Like, do you want us to continue to look at adding something onto the Marys River Park sign? Not trying to put that to rest. I know it's important and we did rename, but again, our city park doesn't even have a sign. And when I saw that, I thought, really, our city park doesn't have a sign. So I think, what the Public Works Director, his recommendation is that you as a board say, we will take this on as an agenda item to look at maybe recommending some kind of a sign standard so that they can move forward with what they need to make up like a program for installing signs, replacing signs.
This may be a dumb question.
That's okay.
To clarify,
Yes.
if we do go with making a standard for all signs, existing signs that do not fit that standard, would they be removed and replaced with the standardized ones? Or would we be looking to like Marys River sign deteriorates enough that when it becomes time to replace, but not
Maybe.
across the board?
I mean,
Or is that all
maybe.
part of the?
Yeah, I
development
think that's part of, that would be a good recommendation to make. I think at that point, it's not like we have 100 parks. I think that as a board, you could make a recommendation saying, these are the parks that we would recommend putting on a higher priority list for replacement. Here's why. Again, Marys River Park is a community park, City Park is a community park. Those are larger than like a neighborhood park or a pocket park. So it could be sort of that where you're looking at it from what type of park is it? We recommend getting those community parks named first, and just kind of coming up with a recommendation on that.
It seems, there's a sign on the highway that says City Park. There's the arrow. And you go down and you see the school grounds and you see a park, but you don't really know, well, where's the city park? You don't really know.
Sure.
If you've never been there.
Clarifying.
before.
That actually came up in
Yeah.
the music in the park. Somebody said to me, well, my friend came over, but she couldn't come.
Oh my gosh.
And so I kind of did the same thing. I went down there and there's no directional
Yeah.
signs. There's not even a directional sign at the stop sign to go in.
Exactly.
Maybe if you were just,
You could drive right by there and not even. see it.
absolutely.
And I can look at that with Public Works because that may be something that they could do.
Put something there.
I think even since I have worked here, I think there was a city park directional sign at some point, either pointing to turn down. I thought there was a sign.
On the
Yeah, I think
highway,
there was
there's
one after you turn somewhere, but
It seems like you said, one of those.
That's only on the highway. Once you get off the highway, then you're lost.
Yeah.
It's not having your phone talk to you.
well, I'll bring that up with them and see if that's something that they have.
I would love for us to get an updated sign at Marys River Park to represent the new name that we did. I think working with Public Works is probably, I would support that. If you're looking for a motion, I like this motion.
One topic on that, and that is the reason why that came up in the first place was because the city owns that property, and the city sometimes would like to do something else with the property that it wasn't destined for. And that if it was absolutely destined for a naturescape park, then if it's got a sign, at least everybody will know.
Yeah, I do think in that case, the records are going to hold more than signage, even if you had a sign up. There are very detailed records, right? It's in the park board minutes, it's in council minutes, that's been adopted by council. So I think if there were an issue with that, that's what people would want to remind is to go back to that. So I don't think because that sign is not up there right now, that's threatening that area any more or less than, but the council did acknowledge that and have that conversation. So I think that's valuable and it's in minutes and
And even future signage could be part of the plan that we determine with
Yes.
Public Works.
exactly.
So it may not, I think maybe not happening right now, but
Right.
part of the larger plan of standardizing it.
Right, so it may be that the recommendation is, here, we've decided on some signage that we like the look of, and our recommendation is knock City Park and Mary's River Park out. So let's get those. I don't know how you're gonna budget for them or how you're gonna do that, city staff, but our recommendation is to try to get those two.
The Mary's River Park sign, that's in pretty good shape.
And it's made of wood. It's just.
I actually talked to Public Works about it, so it's not in amazing shape. I know it's not that old, but it does, the wood itself does have some splits in it, and then I think some of the bark is coming off. So it may be at the time, I don't really know, it's not been there that long, but that's sort of what.
Could we leave that old sign there?
Or move it maybe into the park?
Yeah,
Do a
and
picture.
add that's not. What, oh,
Or even on the
It's-
corner.
There on the corner,
People know what the park's there.
yes.
Tree is wrong. So
Ah.
it's hard to see it, but they also have, which I think is a good idea, a blue sign that says Mary's River Park and
Is that a bench?
Is that,
the address. So it's got.
is that,
Pardon, the bench you're talking about?
Sign, wood, round sign.
yeah, but behind it, there's like a fence or something.
Oh, behind it.
Hey, Tommy.
See it.
Okay, well, let's keep the conversation open. We'll put this, maybe on the next agenda.
Are you looking for a recommendation today specifically about Mary's River Park and City Park? Or is that?
No, I think this
Too far.
the recommendation that's on here is good. I think that it could be added to say that the park board like to
Emphasize.
work on that. So it's
Oh,
not
okay.
just, it's not just a until it can be developed, it's that, and the park advisory board would like to.
Motion
Develop
to
and recommend.
recommend that Public Works continue to determine park signage needs and that a park signage standard be developed and recommended by the Park Advisory Board. Prioritizing Mary's River Park natural area and City Park.
I second that.
That sounds good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to whatever she said.
Yeah. I wanted to, would the next step be to design it? Is that something we want to start working on?
Yeah,
For the next
so-
time? And who would do that? How we go about? Is that the next step, next meeting?
That'll be the next step. Let's
Okay.
talk at the next meeting about that. I'll bring some information on how we can maybe move
Fine.
forward on that.
We do have a little park logo. It's
true. Yes, okay, yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
On that logo or?
So do we need a vote?
Are we done with discussion?
Oh,
We're still discussing.
Well,
Let's vote on the motion.
we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Good. Motion carried.
Not that I want to continue the discussion, but just a couple of questions. As you're coming in on the highway, we get directional signs like for Mary's River Park, we get directional signs for post office, blue ones. police department, and so on. Are those responsibility of the city or is that ODOT?
Most likely that's ODOT. I mean, the city at some point will say we need that signage, but I think ODOT is responsible for replacing that tape.
Things are kind of nice right now,
Yeah.
but when we're done, it would be nice, because I know there is a directional sign as you're going west for Mary's River Park. It's different than, it's not a blue sign, it's a different, one. It's a little hard to see, but at least it's there. I don't know if there's one going.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't look at the directional signage.
Okay, so our next item of business is the Park Advisory Board terms of memberships. You want to take that over?
Sure. So at the last meeting, there were some questions about where folks are at with their terms and memberships. So I just added the current board term list. And then also we had a member, Tyler, who'd asked about moving out of the city limits. Whether or not he'd still be able to serve on the board. So I did add that that we do allow for that. So he can probably stay on the
I
board.
think so too.
Yeah, so it says
It
two
says-
positions may be filled from outside the urban growth boundary within Benton County, so. Yeah. So that answers the question for Tyler, who's not here, but we'll pass that on to him. And then the other was just to show that we have Rose terming out at the end of December and Dale. So generally, we as staff like to know as early as possible if you're intending to throw your hat back in. Dale, you've been on for quite a while, so I think.
Yeah, I've been turned out about 6 or 8 times.
Yeah, so I think with both of them, what we've done is put out applications for the park board vacancies, and then the council. You know, if you like, either of you want to resubmit, you will resubmit, and the council will determine based off of applications they get what they think is best, or the mayor. I think the mayor appoints and the council acknowledges that. I guess that would.
Would it be appropriate to offer the plan, I'll be a plan B? I don't want to take a spot if there's someone else in the community that wants to be a part of the board, but if we're looking for someone.
Yeah, I think that you could put your application and we can just note that. I think Lindy actually did that the last time. Yeah, I think when you put. No, but I think you had said that
There
if
was an
there,
open-
if there was someone else, you would want that person to have a chance.
Opportunity.
But if there weren't, that you would be willing to serve.
But how long have you been on the board? That's what I thought. It hadn't been very.
So you must have, you took a spot for Haley, I think is what you're.
Oh.
I think you were one of the. We've had some members that left before their term was up, so we have some
Yes,
people that.
you're right.
Are not in a
Yes.
full 3-year term as if they've been elected.
So if I do continue on, that would be a 3-year term, not the 2 years.
Yes. Yes, because these 2 terms are expiring, so anyone that takes over for this.
Stop letting her live.
There you go.
I don't raise our rent.
Right. As long as you can afford to be here. Okay, so, if are there any other questions about the terms or?
So what's gonna happen to Dale?
I know, that's what I'm thinking, like, can't.
That's what you have to retire.
Not against what is
Yeah, so,
local code.
so what's happened in the past when Dale has been reappointed, I think, was that there were not additional applicants when he. When
Not
he
that I
was
don't
up.
want you to be,
Yeah.
you are a fearless leader, just.
I said, how am I gonna have to do this till you die?
So I think that that's how that's worked. I think that the council, and especially lately, they've gotten in more of a groove now that we have more committees. They have a process that they like to follow, and I think that it is that they put it out there, see who is applying, and they go from there.
Because if Dale was not, if he was not back on the board, he would have to get a chairperson.
Yeah, we vote for the chair in January every year anyway. No,
You got
the
it.
board votes for a chair anyway.
I don't know if we ever did.
So, yes, so you have all voted.
Are the applications live?
Campaigns are not live yet, but I think that Ruth usually puts those out at mid to end of November. But I'll check with her and I will let you all know. I'll send it out to you when it's live. Yeah,
Okay, so anything else on that? Where are we? Our project updates everywhere?
yes.
I think you gotta get rid of me. I can't keep up with what I'm doing.
You're
Fine.
Park project update, Paul Cochran.
At least you brought your reading glasses, Dale. I did not. Step ahead of me. Okay, so the Paul Cochran Memorial Park construction. I think it's seems a little slow, but I heard from Public Works that they're doing some work over there. So they have diverted back to it. The playground surface, did we talk about that last time? So the city council asked staff to look at installing like an ADA play surface with some of the ARPA funds that they still have to spend. They recommended the rubber surface. When we contacted the play company, they let us know that they can quote us for the rubber surface. It's a little bit more costly and it has about a 3-month window that you can put it in, which is not anywhere near now, as you can imagine. And they said that newer, it's for about 5 years. A lot of parks that are doing the ADA compliant surfaces are using this. It basically looks like grass, like turf. But it is designed, right, but it is designed to be an ADA wheeled surface type of surface. If you look, actually, City of Eugene, if you look at their latest news, they just opened a new park and they have a whole bunch of it. They have a nice picture of it. So the council's looking at that again. The cost for it that came back was about triple what staff had thought that it was initially. There's change orders to be had with the contractor. It was not in our contract to do this. They have to modify their plan. The installation of it, just with the times that we're in, is really costly. So we're not sure how the council is going to go either way on that.
What
But
does it look like after 10 years or 5 years? Yeah.
Well, that's, they that deep over there, two plots in that park. And then they put gravel in one of them.
yeah, they are working there. It's just a lot of that sub work that you don't see anything exciting going.
You could use car lot next door.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, it has to be ADA.
Well, it's all ADA compliant. So the wood play surface that you put is ADA compliant. It's just not as easy for every person to get on and off of.
Maybe what Yvonne was getting after is the triple the expense turf stuff. Will it last longer? Is it?
So
longer?
it's actually less costly than the rubber surfacing. This is just the cost estimate that was given
Right.
was just not an accurate estimate at the time. They didn't have their.
Is it more affordable than the?
It's more affordable than the rubber surface. Yeah, and
To see something like that is getting kind of gross after dirt and sand is kicked into it.
Well, it gets me.
Baking in.
Oh,
it's been actively being put in parks for, I think it's gained popularity about 5 years ago. It's been being used for longer than that, so they are seeing the effects of it. Good reports on it so far. Anything like that is going to have a maintenance cost. Those rubber surfaces, they have to be reported. Kids chip them out. I live in Corvallis, and recently they had a bunch of parks shut down because kids, they think it's really fun to sit down and just pick the rubber out. So, no play surface in a park is safe. But from little fingers, but yeah, so I don't know, but that, anyway, the council's gonna look at it, make a recommendation on Monday. They should.
Chelsea, on the back of that park that backs up to the house, are they gonna put a fence there?
There is fencing going on if you're standing on College looking back, there's fencing. I think it's chain link with slats in it. So like the slats, and then there's a little bit more additional fencing, low fencing that's going to go on the other property line just to give that house privacy. Okay, it's on College Street.
Which, I have a question because I have a relative that lives in that house. Cause he hasn't heard anything about the fencing thing. Who should he contact or who?
I would have him contact Public Works directly, just so that
But who in Public Works? Is it Gary?
Kevin Fear,
Yeah.
the Public Works Director.
So I've seen the playing fields at OSU. I used to work on campus and there's I think it's a field where they play Jai and some other things. And it's got this artificial turf
Mhm.
and they have to run a tractor over it with like a rake thing.
Mm.
I didn't think any of that stuff needed maintenance of any kind. The only maintenance it doesn't really need is watering, obviously.
Yeah.
But you do need to have a tractor to go over it and what it does is it smooths out those rubber pellets so that they're not being gouged and make little hills here and there.
Mhm.
But it just means running a machine with a rake thing over it. And I
Yeah.
expect the city can
Is that the new,
probably work.
new track they put in out there on the? highway?
No, it's been there for a while.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I haven't worked there for quite some time, but anyway, it kind of surprised me that it needed maintenance at all. But then I realized that all those little teeny pieces, those little round thingies of rubber,
Mm.
if they get scuffed together, they can make like little hills.
Hmm.
So just running a rake thing over them just levels it all, so.
In the meantime, while the park is being developed.
Yes.
I'm wondering, does the city expect citizens not to access that area? Like use it to play? I've seen people in that area as I've driven by and I didn't know liability wise, safety wise.
Talk to them about that and.
Signage.
construction,
I hate to be that person, but it's also construction zone.
Right? I can ask them if that's something that they are planning to do or when they're planning to do that.
And if people can use it, I mean, great, let them use the
Yeah.
space. Well, it's being-
Even before it's actually open.
Doing RC cars, so yeah, so I'm like, it's fun, like I would want to do that if I had an RC car, but also it's a construction area.
Guessing right now, there's not much of that just because they've either been on site working, where I'm sure they have things kind of
Yeah.
noticed.
Caution tape up or something, I don't know,
Yeah, but
If that
I
was
think
the
as they're
case.
working there more, that's gonna become an issue, right? Because they're gonna have.
Yeah.
Some larger poles and
Right.
things like that, yeah,
But
absolutely.
do kids do that where they're building houses?
Probably.
some kids do,
Yeah.
nothing else to do.
And they're like, oh, we can play there.
One of the other things I was gonna ask, deals with the memorial. So we were on a timeline for that and then we
Yes.
got extended. Are we still okay for that?
And yeah, I'm still in communication with the OPRD people.
Okay.
Yeah, they know that we're delayed and why, and they just want us to be communicating with them, which we are, so. Yeah, and actually the memorial, we're waiting on a bid for the memorial itself. I've just been having, like, everything else that's construction related, it's just kind of goes on and on and on and on, and lots of email back and forth, but I do have a company that I'm looking at to see if we may have to quote it out to other companies as well. But I've started with them because I know that they have built similar memorials and they will do a design build, so we don't have to do like a CAD drawing and give it to them. They can do all of that based off of the drawing that Anita did for the park design, so. Yeah,
Well, what I'm wondering about is the people that donated that to the city. And and it seems like a lot isn't happening there. Is that any effect that the family has any? Thing to come back on the city, says you didn't do what I asked you?
no, the property is it's donated.
So it
We-
was
we
no time
own
for
it. No, I mean, it is being built. I mean, to say that it is actually being built, it just, when you go there, you may not see. There's something being
Yeah.
constructed, but they're absolutely doing work. They've
Do you
been
know if
there.
the city is being intentional about updating that family, the specific family that donated it, so that they
I-
know what's happening?
I don't know that city staff has a lot of contact with him, but they have kept contact with Eric Neiman, the former mayor, so he does have a good
He
contact with
updates
them and
them.
updates them,
Like,
yeah.
relationship wise.
Yes, he has kind of kept them updated on delays, why they've happened, where we're at, so they have been updated, yes. Yeah. Any
Okay.
Questions about that part? No, okay. So the skate park, is, we had the meeting, we had the preliminary design. We as staff gave them a little bit of feedback on some things about that design. Including rounding out some of the edges. So there was. We talked about how the edge along the creek was nice because it was rounded, so we've asked them to maybe like make that a little more organic and a little less angular. And then also looked at potentially shifting or moving one of the street features in the middle to add an art piece, some kind of a, you know, I don't know if it'll just be in the ground, but somewhere that you could put an art piece of some sort. So I found a park that it wasn't, like wheels, so like old mills had like the wheels, like it looks like a gear. I found an art piece that was like that, like big sort of wheels, but maybe something that you could put in the middle, because we had talked about how do you bring this like Philomath into the park, and they had admitted that that was kind of a next step, was how do they do that? So we did talk to them about what are some ways that we can look at that now. We don't want to end up with this, here's the design, and we haven't addressed making it a Philomath skate park, not just a skate park anywhere USA. So they're looking at those options. So I anticipate they'll, by the next meeting, we might have an updated drawing to show and where we're at, but the next steps with that is going to be kind of talking to the board. I'll bring it as an agenda item in the next several months about like funding options and how that looks for the future. So I mentioned this, I think Matt from Grindline mentioned that typically there needs to be a nonprofit started. Friends of Paloma Skate Park, Build a Better Skate Park, but that they need to kind of step forward and make an organization that can accept donations. And then we need to look for some matches. So we, as a city, we're going to need to get that cost estimate from Grindline. This is how much they think it's going to cost, how much we think we might be able to get in grants, and then look at a percentage of community fundraising efforts so that we can get help with that match. So
Is the creating a nonprofit the needed thing to happen or the recommendation? Like, because I know becoming a nonprofit is a big thing to take on. Undertaking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's very common. So what I would like to do is maybe put some of the supporters that have been doing that in touch with some groups, because it's very, very common. Like my family lives in Vernonia, really small logging community. They have Friends of Vernonia Skate Park. They just did this and did fundraising. So I don't think it's as difficult because of the type of organization it is, or maybe it's because it has a beginning and an end and a purpose. I don't know that much about it. If it's like a different type of organization, but yes, I think that bringing that forward with the potential, here are some potential places we might be able to get grants from. Here is how an organization would need to like go forward, or places to contact. So I'm going to try to bring some resources together just to put that out in the community, reach out to some people like Izzy Elliott, who's been a supporter, and just see if we can get people kind of going on that end. So
I'm wondering, is another option, instead of going off on your own, doing a nonprofit, is collaborating with an existing nonprofit.
maybe
That's new services.
that's
or strengthening
possible.
programs.
Yeah. So that would be, it would be kind of a thing that this is the time when we're gonna ask for the supporters to come forward,
Right.
kind of give ideas and, hey, can you call these people? And find out what they did, find out how they've done this, and but I will try to find some resources just to help point in the right direction for that. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions about the skate park?
Would this, I don't know, if it needs to go through the city council or the city. I'm wondering if it would be valuable to the community the skating community, the people who are interested in the building of this park, if we held informational opportunity for people to get an update on what's happening. Because yes, they can watch the recordings,
Mhm.
they can come to the meetings, but not everybody does that.
Mhm.
Some people live outside of Benton County that are going to be accessing this area. So thinking that we could advertise that I'm saying me, advertise out to like the skate companies, the businesses that or even at the schools, like that sort of thing. Just to kind of generate, because it has been such a long process. And I think some feedback that I've heard from the community is that it's just never going to happen because it's just moving so slowly. And I understand it's the way the government works and we're chugging along, we're chipping away at it. But I think having that connection with the community might be a good way to start the conversation about, okay, we need community buy-in. We need you guys to step up. Because there's a lot of people who want the skate park, but
And that I
few
think,
and far between a little bit.
yeah, so
Engagement.
for one thing, we usually, when a project has gotten to a certain point, we usually have a webpage. So that can help with timeline where we're at,
Okay.
keeping that updated. Sometimes as city staff, it's hard for us to keep those updated, but if we have people saying, hey, have you updated that? It helps. And the other thing is the supporter group. That is really the grassroots effort of a supporter group. And that's a really great thing for that group to be doing, is trying to get information out, getting people excited. We as staff, like, just don't have time to do that, quite frankly. But it is having liaisons to like come to me or Public Works or wherever we're at in the process to say, what is going on? Where are we? Can we update people? But having that webpage helps a lot because it does give people a place to go. They can see the history on, where are we? What are the designs look like? Where are we at? So we will probably start that soon as I think we've kind of ended this process with Grindline and we have those documents. That would seem like a reasonable time to do that. She still reaches out. We have some conversations on updating. And I have no doubt this is kind of what she has been waiting for, I think, is to be able to start doing this next phase and getting all the supporters together and having a purpose, right? So once you have that and we need to work toward this dollar amount goal, how are we going to do that? I think that gives people something to hold on to.
Right.
And they know if we can get here, something's happening.
I guess I was just thinking, not that the city would have to take the responsibility of hosting this. I
Mhm.
definitely think the grassroots effort needs to happen, but it kind of feels like sometimes there's a game of telephone happening of misinformation going
Right.
out or speculation,
Yes.
that sort of thing. And so
Mhm.
getting like, even if like the grassroots efforts comes together and plans everything, having a city representative there,
Mhm.
that could maybe give factual information and
Sure.
give updates.
Yeah, and having the webpage helps with that a lot. I mean, we've done that, like the streetscape project is a good example. There are a lot of players in that. There are a lot of people. If we can get people to come back in and see like where we're at and what's been done and the history, and it does help a lot. So yes, I think we're about to a point where it is time, because there's enough out there going on now that that misinformation can happen or people get confused about things and
I'm just
So, yes.
frustrated with the process.
Yeah, right. Don't understand that, how it works. Yeah.
And I think if you expect them to fundraise,
Mhm.
the more information they can get.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The more encouraged they'll be.
Right. And that's why we've done this planning process. When you have an image for people and they can see,
Right.
this is what we're fundraising for, that goes much better than, hey, we want to have a skate park. What does it look like?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna have a bowl and a couple things to grind on.
No, they need a.
Yes, so this has been when we get this, we can put this on the website, make a visual for people. And I think that's gonna help a lot. Yeah, our projected timeline, things like that.
I know we were just talking about signage, but I don't know, sign up at the skate park itself. I've been like thinking one of those thermometer things. How much?
You know, where?
Site,
Sure.
with all the extra funds that we have.
Right. Well, you can get some pretty affordable signage. It might not last forever, but yeah, I agree with you. Getting the word out is going to be really important.
thermometer on the website.
Yeah, there you go. I know. Questions about that?
No, I think that's good. It's good to know that things are moving, at least.
For update, time for board members to share anything park related. Anything you want to share?
I think I've said everything.
Talk like a pirate day.
How'd that go?
Yeah,
We're very happy.
it went fantastic, but we had less people there this year than last year. So there's a gal who did a line dance there to a pirate song. She taught us a dance and it was really fun. She is the activity person at Stony Brook. And I was talking with her about it. She said, I'll help you advertise.
Oh.
So I'm going to try it one more year.
Okay.
And with her help, she's a big Facebook person. She has a lot of connections. So she'll help me advertise. And if there's a decent amount of people, I'll keep doing it. But, you know, if you're putting the work out there and you don't know what the reasons are, but basically there's not, you know, I mean, there were people there. It was a little less than last year,
Yeah,
but it should have been more.
Sure.
that is great.
Yeah.
And there's some other pirate bands too up in Portland.
Well, that's
Probably gonna make it
perhaps-
for next year.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fun. Oh, and Lindy won the Talk Like a Pirate contest.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It was fun for those of us that were there. It was
Yeah.
really fun.
It's great.
Anyway, I don't know if you noticed but the thing you got in today about what's going on in the park. The annual park donation for the monies we collected from the music in the park.
Oh,
December of 2021, we picked up $1,300.50. In December 22, we had 1,655.24. And in 2023, we had 1,757.86.
good. Thank you, Dan.
So it's done pretty good. It
Yeah.
Mhm.
took a while to get it going. Well, you know, and for somebody that wasn't around, we made a plaque that if we decided to do this, we're gonna give it at least
What did we say, 3 years?
3 years.
What year are we on?
Oh, 2014?
2014, so we're sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10-year anniversary next year.
that's true. This year,
Next,
next year, sorry. I've been on the
We
board.
missed one for COVID though, right? This season. Does it not count? Are we not counting that? Okay.
coming years.
The COVID year, is that,
Just forget about 2020.
yes, I know, what? Thanks.
Not, I'll consider the meeting adjourned.